Our lead story tonight, the two-judge bench of the Supreme Court today delivered a split verdict on the validity of the hijab ban in Karnataka colleges and in schools. Justice Hemant Gupta, in his verdict, said that religious belief cannot be carried to a secular school maintained out of state funds. He said that the constitutional goal of fraternity would be defeated if the students are permitted to carry their apparent religious symbols with them to the classroom, adding that students have no right to be in the school in violation of the mandate of the uniform prescribed under the statute and the rules. He said secularism is applicable to all citizens, therefore permitting one religious community to wear their religious symbols would be antithesis to secularism. However, the second judge, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, had a completely different view, saying that by asking the girls to take off their hijab before they enter the school gates is first an invasion of their privacy, then it is an attack on their dignity, and then ultimately it is a denial to them of secular education. The question this court would put before itself is also whether we are making the life of a girl child any better by denying her education merely because she wears a hijab. Justice Dhulia said, under our constitutional scheme, wearing a hijab should simply be a matter of choice. It may or may not be a matter of essential religious practice, but it still is a matter of conscience, belief and expression. Among many facets of our constitution, one is trust. Our constitution is also a document of trust, the trust the minorities have reposed upon the majority.
The battle that broke out in Karnataka 11 months ago over whether hijabs can be worn to school has ended for now in a legal stalemate. The Supreme Court bench that was heading a batch of petitions against a Karnataka High Court order banning the hijab split down the middle. The religious belief cannot be carried to a secular school maintained out of state funds. Constitutional goal of fraternity would be defeated if the students are permitted to carry their apparent religious symbols with them to the classroom. Students have no right to be in the school in violation of the mandate of the uniform prescribed under the statute and the rules. Secularism is applicable to all citizens, therefore permitting one religious community to wear the religious symbols would be antithesis to secularism. Justice Dhulia, by asking the girls to take off their hijab before they enter the school gates, is first an invasion on their privacy, then it is an attack on their dignity, and then ultimately it is a denial to them of secular education. The question this court would put before itself is also whether we are making the life of a girl child any better by denying her education merely because she wears a hijab. Under a constitutional scheme, wearing a hijab should be simply a matter of choice. It may or may not be a matter of essential religious practice, but it is still a matter of conscience, belief and expression. Amongst many facets of our constitution, one is trust. Our constitution is also a document of trust. It is the trust the minorities have reposed upon the majority. On the ground in Karnataka, as the police kept vigil, the day went off peacefully. The petitioners who fought against the ban were disappointed but hopeful.
हमें भरोसा है कि डेफिनेटली ये संविधान के आशय के हिसाब से ही आने वाला लार्जर बेंच हो, चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया हो, वो ये देगा, क्या जस्टिस हमें देगा। और इसमें यहाँ की लड़कियाँ, हर एक लड़की वो हिंदू हो मुस्लिम हो, वो अपने कल्चर के हिसाब से वो एजुकेशन पालेगी और आगे बढ़ेगी।
The BJP government, which was in favor of a ban, said the ban will continue till the final verdict.
As a democratic government, we welcome whatever the judgment we have received today from the Supreme Court. But we had expected a better judgment because, as you know that, throughout the world, women are demanding not to wear hijab, not to wear burqa.
With split verdict by a division bench and the presiding judge Justice Hemant Gupta retiring on Sunday, the case will now be placed before Chief Justice of India to be heard afresh by a 3-judge bench. With Srija from Bangalore and camera person Sanjay Kaushik, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
Well, going across the other big headline, and that's about the politics now in election states. The Prime Minister's second major campaign in Himachal Pradesh today, where he talked the success of the double-engine government. But this, as the Gujarat election campaign is getting better, and it's now BJP versus AAP. Home Minister Amit Shah launched the Gaurav Yatra in Gujarat today, a day after BJP President JP Nadda was also in Gujarat. This as the AAP Gujarat chief was detained in Delhi and then released for remarks he'd apparently made against the Prime Minister a few years ago.
The Prime Minister opening his election campaign for the Himachal Pradesh Assembly. In his rally, Prime Minister Modi reiterated the need for continuing the double-engine Sarkar. The BJP is in power in Himachal.
हमारी प्राथमिकताएं हैं लोगों के जीवन को आसान बनाना, इसलिए हम जनजातीय क्षेत्रों, पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों पर सबसे अधिक बल दे रहे हैं.
In Gujarat, Home Minister Amit Shah launching the party's Gaurav Yatra to cover 144 of the 182 constituencies. As the BJP's Big Two campaigned in the election states, in Delhi, a political drama. Aam Aadmi Party's Gujarat chief from the powerful Patidar community, Gopal Italia, detained by the Delhi police when he arrived at the office of the National Commission for Women as summoned.
तो ये चिढ़ते हैं पाटीदारों से, पटेलों से चिढ़ते हैं. अब इनको लगता है कि ये पटेल का लड़का अध्यक्ष कैसे बन गया, ये नहीं होना चाहिए था. तो अब किसी भी तरीके से मुझे परेशान किया जा रहा है. उल्टी सीधी नोटिसें आ रही है, यहाँ बिठा दिया 4-5 घंटे. बताइए क्या क्या कसूर है मेरा?
Though summoned for objectionable comments, Italia wasn't detained for these comments. But because NCW chief Rekha Sharma said that Aam Aadmi Party hooligans surrounded the NCW office. Italia was summoned by the National Commission for Women for his comments made in a video from years ago. He used a Hindi abusive word and the NCW called it misogynistic.
किस्म के आदमी, मुख्य वड़ा प्रधान नरेंद्र मोदी किस्म का आदमी यहाँ पे रोड शो कर रहा है और दिखा रहा है कि कैसे मैं पूरे देश को बना रहा हूँ.
The Aam Aadmi Party has not disputed the video, but says it was misinterpreted and shows that the BJP is wary of the party ahead of the Gujarat elections. The Aam Aadmi Party says that the BJP couldn't dare to get Italia arrested in his home state in Gujarat, and that is why they called him to Delhi. Though not denying the authenticity of these videos, the Aam Aadmi Party says that these comments were made before Italia joined AAP and they're resurfacing only to target him ahead of the Gujarat polls that are due later this year. The BJP claims the reverse.
ऐसे व्यक्ति की जगह गुजरात या कहीं होने की बजाय जेल में होनी चाहिए.
In Gujarat, where the BJP won only 99 seats in the 2017 elections, the first after Modi became the Prime Minister, Shah made an open prediction for 2022.
गुजरात की जनता एक धारी भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने विजय अपावती रही છે. આજે આ બધા પત્રકારોની વચ્ચે હું કહીને જઉં છું, 2022 માં ફરી એકવાર 2/3 बहुमतीથી વધારે बहुमतीથી ભારતીય जनता પાર્ટીની સરકાર બની.
Only days ago, Prime Minister Modi was in Gujarat to launch a spate of development projects, including the third edition of the Vande Bharat train between Gandhinagar and Mumbai. In New Delhi with Sanket Upadhyay and camera person Xavier Thomas, Priyanshi Sharma for NDTV.
Well, the big global headline continues to be the economy with inflation rising globally. The United States' latest figures show that the core inflation is now at a 4-decade high. That's the same in Europe, where inflation in different countries also at a multi-decade high. So latest figures of core inflation in the United States is 8.2%. That's the highest since 1992. The US 8.6%. The US highest in 1982. India 7.4% in the latest figures out yesterday. Germany is at 10% and Sweden 10.8%. So a huge impact on US markets with those inflation numbers coming out, stocks and bonds tumbling there. And meanwhile, in India also, markets down today amid global cues. Markets declining, the Sensex down 390 points. Also, let's just look at the Nifty falling 109 points. And banking, capital goods stocks declining the most. The International Energy Agency became the latest international agency today to warn of a global recession coming. And French President Emmanuel Macron has tweeted today saying we don't want a world war. In a direct appeal to Russia's president, he said that we help Ukraine to resist on its soil, never to attack Russia. Vladimir Putin must end this war and respect the territorial integrity of Ukraine. This came as a Russian official has warned of World War III if NATO allows Ukraine to join. The Deputy Secretaries of the Security Council of the Russian Federation said that Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, is well aware that such a step would mean a guaranteed escalation to a World War III. The remarks made by the Russian Deputy Secretary are the first direct threat on the use of nuclear weapons in the Ukraine conflict. On the 21st of September, the Russian president had also said if the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, we will without a doubt use all available means to protect Russia and our people. This is not a bluff. Well, moving to other news, back here in Kerala, there are shocking details still emerging of how actually the human sacrifice of two women happened in Kerala. Sneha has the latest details. Sneha, there's a gory sequence of events, but also, of course, the fact that one of the accused, Bhagwal Singh, it's now coming out, was a poet, was a well-respected Ayurvedic doctor, also a CPIM supporter seen as progressive. So what exactly are the details we have now based on the police report to the court?
Well, Sonia, these are graphic details and we are leaving out much of it, but still it can be very disturbing. In terms of what has happened to the victims, the first victim, at least the first case that the police cracked, was that of Padma. And in this particular case, she was offered 15,000 rupees for sex work by mastermind Shafi. She then was brought to Bhagwal, who is, as Sonia explained, somebody who's seen as very progressive, a poet locally, a social worker as well, to Bhagwal and Laila's house, where at 4 p.m. she reached. In the evening, the crime started. Now, Bhagwal and Laila, they are accused of trying to destroy evidence. Not just that, they literally chopped up the pieces of this woman into 56, chopped up the body of this woman into 56 pieces. And she was literally, when she asked for the money that she required, she was tied to the bed. Her private parts were mutilated, and subsequently her body was chopped up. Nothing very different to what happened to Rosalind as well. She's 49 years old, and now we must remember these two women come from very poor background. They were lottery ticket sellers, very vulnerable, and the mastermind used that as a critical link. Rosalind was offered around 10 lakh rupees to act in a blue film, and while this happened, her body, when she was brought to the accused house, her entire body was chopped up into pieces. Not just that, she was brought from Kottayam. When she asked for the money, her mouth was gagged. Her mouth was taped. And they again mutilated her private parts, chopped it up into pieces, and went and tried burying her body parts into pits. And that's when eventually the police could identify through the CCTV footage, and this case was cracked, Sonia.
Right, and Sneha, as you've been reporting also, the shock in that village that there could be such cruelty. And as you made the point that these victims, so vulnerable, poor women who actually had accepted perhaps to do sex work because they needed the money for their families. And this in one of India's richest states. So really, this is a story which has many, many layers. Thanks very much for telling us of these details. And as we want to warn viewers, it is a disturbing story. We have left out many of the more disturbing details. In other news, a BJP leader's wife has been shot dead in Uttarakhand. This after a clash between cops of Uttar Pradesh with the mining mafia. Chasing the mining mafia, the UP police had come into Uttarakhand. They were then, after the shootout, the cops were actually taken hostage by villagers and then released. But many, many questions being raised on what actually happened, with the UP police now facing a murder case in Uttarakhand.
Chaos late last night in a shootout after the UP police stormed a local BJP leader's house in Jaspur in Uttarakhand. On the trail of a man named Jafar, allegedly from the mining mafia in Uttar Pradesh, who had a bounty of rupees 50,000 on his head. In the crossfire, an innocent 28-year-old woman, the BJP leader's wife, shot dead, and 5 policemen severely injured. The chase began in this small town near Moradabad after the UP police got a tip-off. During the chase, Jafar crossed the UP-Uttarakhand border and, according to the police, took shelter at the farmhouse of the BJP bloc pramukh Gurtaj Bullar in Uttarakhand's Jaspur, where the police say their team was held hostage and their weapons were snatched by villagers. The Uttarakhand police have now registered a case against the UP police for the murder of the 28-year-old, accusing the UP police of negligence. This has sparked a war of words between the police forces of the two states.
यूपी पुलिस की पूरी लापरवाही है। यूपी पुलिस जो है यहाँ पर एक तो बिना बताए आई, हमको कोई आला अधिकारी को सूचना नहीं, कोई थाने को सूचना नहीं, तो कोई वर्दी नहीं, कोई आई कार्ड नहीं, कौन पुलिस है क्या है, तो इस तरह से रेड नहीं होती है। ये गलत जो है उन्होंने किया है, घर में घुसे हैं, घर में घुस के उन्होंने फायरिंग किया है यहाँ पर। उस फायरिंग में जो है एक महिला की मृत्यु हुई है, जो कि एक बहुत ही संगीन अपराध है।
They called the local police over there, and they were supposed to intimate it, but the action happened so fast. It is only 6-7 kilometers from here, from where they were pursuing the criminal, and then once they reached there, the whole hostage situation started within fraction of minutes. And as far as we know right now, so the criminal was being concealed and hidden, and did escape from the same house.
The bloc pramukh, who has lost his wife, denies these allegations.
पुलिस तो उन्हें कह ही नहीं सकते आप, ना कोई पुलिस वाला उनका रवैया था, गुंडे ही कहोगे आप उन्हें। सीधा ऊपर आ गए घर पे, आगे उन्होंने बदतमीजी चालू कर दी, अंदर घुसने लगे। सबने कहा कि यार तुम हो कौन, कहाँ से आए हो, हाथ में तो वेपन पकड़े हुए। हमने सोचा कि कोई बदमाश आए हैं। जो लोग पकड़े गए उन्हें बाय इज्जत वीडियोग्राफी के साथ कुंडा पुलिस को सुपुर्द कर दिया गया।
In this dramatic encounter now, it is the Uttar Pradesh Police versus the Uttarakhand Police. While the 5 policemen of the Uttar Pradesh Police are in ICU, the criminal is still at large. This incident brings to mind the massive clout of the mining mafia. In Jaspur, with camera person Karan Patra and Anwar, Vedant for NDTV.
The big question, of course, who will be held accountable for that woman's murder? Meanwhile, the other big headline, well, Dada Saurav Ganguly has finally spoken out about his exit from the border cricket control. In a speech, he made an indirect reference saying that he's been a cricketer, that's the best days of his life, and that he's been an administrator. It's time now for him to move on.
It was a great journey, a lot of learning experience, but the challenge of being a player was completely different. So you can't compare both. You can't play forever, you can't be an administrator forever. But it's been great fun doing both and seeing both sides of the coin. The best days were when you played for the country. I've seen so much after that. I've been president of CAB, I've been president of BCCI. I'll go on to do bigger things in the future. But those 15 years will be the best days of your life. When you woke up every morning to be successful.
Saurav Ganguly's innings not over yet, but the other big news coming out of cricket. The women's IPL is finally here. Osama has the details.
Yes, Sonia, it was long awaited and it is now becoming a reality. India will finally have a women's IPL, just like the women's Big Bash League in Australia and women's hundreds model in the UK. BCCI has attributed this to the rise in popularity of women's cricket in the country, mainly due to their performances by the Indian senior cricket team, where they reached the semi-finals in the 2018 T20 World Cup. They reached the finals in the 2020 T20 World Cup, and most recently by winning the silver medal at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Now the BCCI is putting the plan into action, and according to them, the tournament will happen in March 2023, right after the Women's T20 World Cup. 22 matches have been proposed. Each squad will comprise of 18 players and will follow the same format that the men's IPL does. There will be a maximum of 6 overseas players with no more than 5 overseas players featuring in the playing 11. Each team will play the other twice. The only difference will be that there is going to be just one eliminator match instead of two. The schedule is expected to be out soon, but from what we have learnt, the women's IPL will conclude in March just before the men's IPL starts.
Right.
Now, the ICC has assigned the March window for the men's IPL, and BCCI, they have said that a clear 25 days women's IPL window will be included in the FTP cycle. Now, the format of the home and away matches is going to be followed, and the venues will be Ahmedabad, Bengaluru, Chennai, Delhi, Kolkata and Mumbai. Now, just like the men's IPL teams, there will be auctions and teams will be bought, and we are expecting it to happen in the coming 2 months.
Great. So that's great news for women's cricket. Osama, thanks so much for that update. Well, a big business update as well. Singapore Airlines has in a statement said it's in talks with Vistara and Air India on discussions on deepening the existing Singapore Airlines Tata's partnership. The statement says that this may include a potential integration of Vistara and Air India. Now, that will be big news in the aviation sector. However, they said that discussions are ongoing and no definitive terms have been agreed upon yet. Well, we end tonight with a salute really to a brave hero, and this time it's an Army Assault K9 Zoom who laid down his life in the line of duty. Zoom suffered gunshot wounds during an operation on the 9th of October where Zoom fought gallantly with terrorists, saving lives of soldiers. The Army has said that his selfless commitment and service to the nation will be remembered forever.